Welcome to the Sports Card Lessons Podcast. I'm your host, Big Ken. Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on a streaming service, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. You'll be notified whenever I drop any new content. Welcome. Thanks for being here. As promised, another great guest on the show today. You know him on Instagram at Sack Cards. Anthony, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Ken. That's awesome. Thank you,
Um,
thank you. Happy to
yeah,
be here.
excited to have you here. We met last year at the National for the first time. And I think it was the last day of the National. And
Remember?
I was doing a lot of women's soccer and WNBA stuff. And you can imagine when you showed up at my table and opened up this small case full of all this heat, all these high end, women. I was just like, finally, it took a week for somebody to show up at my table with some great cards, but I knew I met somebody that I was going to instantly connect with.
Yeah, we have a similar palette, don't we, for certain cards and the beautiful game, and so I think that's why we connected quite well there at the National. And I do remember that. And you were talking about some high end women's card. I just got an awesome Carly Lloyd, and then I bumped into you, so it was like a whole bunch of good synergies going on. And so I remember we almost did a deal.
We did. We
Yeah.
almost did a deal, but I'll tell you what, you sometimes you have a conversation with somebody and you have no idea what effect you have on them, right? But you and I had a conversation that day, and I was talking about ripping stuff, and you said to me, "I don't get involved in one box, two box. I buy a case. Like I go out and I buy a whole case." Excuse me.
Sorry, excuse me.
Oh, that's fine. And you said I rip a case, and I thought to myself, maybe I should do that because sometimes I feel like I'm not getting
Oh
those case
no!
hits that I wanted. But I do have to say, with the women's soccer, I bought a case of everything that came out, and I did very well with it. And to a point today where it's hard for me to go buy like just one blaster, or like I'd rather just wait when it first drops and buy the whole case. So whether it was a good influence or a bad influence, you had an influence.
No, I definitely don't. All of our listeners. First of all, thank you for being here. But I definitely, Anthony said go rip cases, so that's what I did, and here it is. I'm 25 grand in the hole. Certainly with women's cards, I think there's a lot of product that you can rip rip a case, so to speak, and while there's probably a negative EV built in according to the current market, there is an opportunity for some really cool assets. And the negative EV on average isn't that bad. I'd like to think that if you played a few, you ripped a few cases, there's a chance that you could win. And so that's why it's exciting. And, obviously for anyone who's been into it, it has those addictive tendencies. And sometimes it's a bit like gambling. So, I just urge everyone to use extreme caution and to know thyself and your tendencies. And that's a lot of the stuff that I'm still learning, and just getting better at it. It makes it more fun when you get better at it.
Well, I don't know if there's skill at ripping,
Gonna bend at the knees and
But I do have to say, with the women's soccer, the WNBA, it's more affordable, right? I mean, you can go buy a case of where it doesn't even equal the cost of like a hobby box for some of like football or basketball or something like that. So, or I should say the men's sports, right? So it's so
yeah.
But
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I didn't want to go. I'm going to let you finish, and then what I want to do is I just want you to give the listeners just a little bit of the background of who Anthony is, how you got started in the hobby, what your lane is in the hobby, just anything just throw it out there, let them know who you are.
Yeah. Okay. No, I'd like to start with that, and maybe I'll remember what I said, and we could go back to it. But I'm Anthony. Anthony Di Nicola. I'm a teacher and a coach. I currently teach middle school math, and I'm a soccer trainer, soccer coach. We do a lot in the community with training soccer players of all ages, and have worked and still currently work with high level players and help them navigate college recruiting process if need be, and even facilitate professional playing opportunities and all the works. There's a lot of work that we still have to do in that category, but that's a main part of what our company does. And then from that, I remember I sold my home in 2019, the summer. And then I rolled over the net that I had from that. I think it was like $13,000, and I just rolled it into cards. October 2019. I think a lot of people talk of that were around then and entered then, or have seen the Gary Vee video in promoting sports cards. And then I started digging a little bit further, doing some research and just kind of looking around at some comps, and then it was like, I'm gonna buy a card, and I bought a Julie Ertz 2015 USA Soccer base rookie. It was like, I don't know, maybe like $1.50 or something like that, but it was like, I got it, and I'm like, I love this player. This is amazing. Started thinking a little bit further, and I would say like really looked at it like a business that December of 2019, and we just started, investing some money with the 13, working your way up, gaining your capital, and then going in for more. I think gold standard, 1920 gold standard, it had a lot of U.S. women's national teams, so that was like the first product that we, really invested in. I don't know if I'm going too far. I'm just firing away here. Is this okay, Ken?
No, it's fine. It's perfect.
Okay. But that was like really, really a positive opportunity. We got involved with, I would say, the first 30 breaks with Cyrus. It was $100 to get the U.S. women's national team spot, and we did the first 30 breaks easy, and then a whole bunch after that with Cyrus alone, plus like Austin, Soccer Breakers FC. And then we were breaking in Thailand. We were breaking with Tuga breaks. We were literally like getting into all the breaks to get as many U.S. women's national, and that's how we started. And then it was Obsidian shortly after that. So I'd say in like the first, probably through $100,000 at cards in the first like 6 months since October 2019, with being able to like work your way up and reinvest it back in, type of a thing, just to acquire the cards. Because the way I looked at it was like, this is so early, and this is an awesome product with my favorite players in it. So it's a no-brainer, and I just went for it.
And it
I
was,
was so happy doing it. And then COVID hit, and it's like, yep. On top of that, like you can get Chrome boxes like 17, 18 Topps Chrome UEFA Champions League for like $60. So you talk about ripping a case, you get a case of Chrome for like 600. I was just like, it's like, oh, look at this Mbappe. Oh, this one's kind of shiny. It's like, oh, that sells for a lot. But back then it's like $40 for a base, and whatever it was, and then the $3,000 for a base, whatever happened in that time. But we're in it. So yeah. And then I was part-time teaching, so I had no job. I lost coaching, I lost teaching, and it's like, well, the only way I could actually, in my head, could make revenue is through selling soccer cards. Mm-hmm. And then we've kind of evolved and shifted, and going back into the classroom full time doesn't mean that we're out of the space by any means. Yeah. I think we're just a little bit happier, and I would say more content, and in a much healthier position to enjoy the space and also to do well.
Mm-hmm. And it was always women. It started with women's soccer, but it was always soccer, right? Soccer.
Yeah, it started with women's soccer, and then obviously, like I watch men's soccer too, and a big part of my life. And like I said, I do it all the time with coaching and being around it in other capacities, watching as a fan. So I don't know. I lost my thought.
So I take it you played soccer growing up. You were a player.
Yeah.
Did you play at a high level? I'm not sure.
Yeah, played in college.
Nice.
In high school, played in college.
Yep.
And
It's
then
nice because
getting involved professionally as a coach, like really studying and getting my badges and tackling the game from that angle.
which is a whole different it's a whole different psychology being a coach, right,
Yeah,
than a player when it comes to any game, any sport.
yeah. So rewarding. No, but it's just such an exciting time to continue to be in the space and go, acquire more cards and buy, sell, trade, and meet people and just experience the space. Unbelievable. So much more fun, and I'm more content now.
I know when I jumped back into the hobby, 2020, soccer was really just starting to take off there. And I really didn't know much about soccer cards, but being I was a dealer buying and flipping, I was just really just buying cards on the value alone. There were maybe a handful of names that I knew, but just buying and selling. And I didn't jump into the women's side of it until, probably in 2021 is when I started, deep diving into the women's soccer and the WNBA stuff too. But I know from setting up at shows, I know the prices of the soccer really rose up quick and then they came back down again. Now we just had World Cup this last summer, which was I think a boost for it. And then I think it cooled off, but I'm noticing now, being at the shows, I'm starting to see a lot more dealers with soccer, a lot more people asking for soccer. I had boxes of singles that were literally sitting in my storage room collecting dust, and they'd been there for probably a year and a half or longer. Where this past weekend, I set up at a local show. I took one of those boxes, I put it on the table, and that was the most popular box on my table that people were going through. So I'm starting to see like, a surge again for soccer. It,
Yeah,
what are you seeing out there for that?
yeah. I love the bins. Like the bins, especially like when things are. I'll just say it's kind of quiet right now. I think I think it's going to continue to probably be a buyer's market. People who are playing long term are going to continue to invest in like cards and just like our perspective is we're trying to get our hands on bigger pieces. We have a lot of like the lower stuff. We have a lot of the medium stuff. So now it's like, all right, let's shed some fur over here and then take that and then go get that. And then, yeah, even if we're hanging around with this stuff for a while, it's more, like I said, that's the content of it. We can become more of a collector. We're still investing, but those are liabilities, and we're having just getting more stuff that we would want than the value is always cool, but
Mhm.
I don't know, just cooler pieces. I'd say we're going after right now. The market presents that opportunity, given our
Mhm.
position to save and maybe sell that and buy that. I don't know.
Do
So
you
I
find
like this way. I like the market that way. A lot of people don't. It's like because they want the cars to be higher value to make more, but this is cool too. I don't know, like just evolve and shift and
Mhm. Do you find more collectors in soccer than flippers? Like right now, the way the market is now, is there more people buying to invest or to hold, or they're buying the cards because they like the cards? Because I know setting up, uh,
good question.
depending on whatever the sport is, like if it's football, or, any card I'm selling, 99% are just people who are buying that card to flip it and sell it somewhere else. They're trying to get a deal from me to move that card somewhere else to make a few bucks on it. Where I almost think people are buying the soccer now, but I don't think it's in that lane right now. I don't think people are buying to flip unless you tell me differently. I think it's more collectors and investors with soccer than the flippers in the market.
Yeah. Um that's quite possible. I think that's a good take, and you know, I change my game and our game from show to show, right? So like a show like Dallas, for example, it's more efficient for me to fly in on Saturday, do the show, do trade night, stay up all night, and get on the Sunday flight morning home. We paid for $150 flight. It gets me in the room. I get to buy cards here, sell them there, or buy a lot of cards that I know that I can do well with in other places, take them home with me type of thing. So So that's that show. And I think that, I set up at other shows and it's like, oh, I want to sell a lot of stuff here. And if possible, or, maybe it's like a show I'll set up and just be like, hey, I'm going to buy stuff. So I think there's people like myself who are kind of trying to be versatile and have a lot of different plans. And
Mm-hmm.
then I think, yeah, like what you're saying, I think there's the high frequency of that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
A lot of so when you go to Dallas, so and I'm just going to take that for instance, the people buying the cars from you, and it's all soccer cards. So the people buying the cars from you, do you think they're taking them just to resell those cards?
yeah.
Okay, all right. So it's more than I guess that answers my question. So what I'm seeing, I don't see that there's a lot of,
And,
you know,
and collectors taking nice pieces off of the table as well.
yeah,
I see a lot of that.
buying it for themselves type of thing, just buying it to hold on to it.
To
Okay.
hold on to it, to collect it, and
Yeah.
then stuff that people don't mind putting away for 2-3 years and sell for
So what
take nice little foo.
and that's strictly on the men's stuff. Do you do a lot with the women's stuff too when you're at any of these shows? Or what do you
Try
kind of
Dallas, the last and I'm a Dallas novice. I've only been once. I'm just excited about the next show when I'm going back. I just changed the game plan so I spend less, and because it's like completely, I'm going to work my ass off for 36 hours. What do you consider the travel time? Going down there, not sleeping unless I sleep on the plane, and then coming home. So it's like it's got to be for me that trip has to be financial decisions. Everything that I buy and everything that I sell, it's for a reason and calculated, and I want to go home plus however much I possibly can.
yeah.
Every show is going to be different, but I was able to buy a Ionescu Purple Prism PSA 10
Hmm.
at this table over here. It was priced so nicely. I think it was priced at 400. I checked comps, and there was one super recent for like high, and I offered 350, which was a mistake on my behalf. I should have just gave him the 400 and got out of there. But I took it over to the person I saw. I just got there and I was like, oh, this person has WNBA. Let me sit around and start talking, blah, 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 blah. And because of the way the comps were, and because I saw that and I know who's going to want it, I literally, and Edwin was with me. I'm like, watch this. I bought it. I took it over to the table. I'm like, you want this? They're like, yep. I'm like, look. And I flipped it for $200 more. That pays for my flight. And I've been
Yep.
there, whatever, a half hour.
Yep.
And I think there's those opportunities. I'm not trying to like puff my chest out, but I think there's opportunities like that all over.
Hmm.
Opportunities to flip. And I could have took that home and maybe put it on eBay and sold it for more, but I'm more valued. I said, oh, I need some cash in my hand right now because I wanted to buy stuff. So I went to that show with no money, and I went over to Cards HQ table. I sold some cards at like 80%. Didn't care. No, it was just so I can have cash. Made the flip, and I went shopping.
Nice.
And it worked out well because then you buy those cards and take them home, and
Mhm.
so Dallas was fun.
It's interesting that what you just described sounds like the new model. I hear so many people saying that they're like, I go to the show with only cards, with no cash, but only cards, and I start by selling some cards to put cash in my pocket to move on. Where it used to be, a few years ago, is you're going into every show cash heavy, right? So
Yeah,
cash is king. You want to go in and make some deals, and if you're paying all cash, you expect a better deal, so you could go flip this card somewhere else. But it's like the mentality is changing a little bit, of what people are doing about showing, especially these big shows like Dallas and Burbank and Chicago. I mean, this is what people are doing now. They're barely just getting to the show, going in there card heavy with
yeah,
no cash, and making the whole thing work.
yeah. And at Dallas, there's so many buyers. And I haven't seen all the shows yet. Like I still consider myself a novice, which like we're like nobody, right? Like that, it's so active. There's so many people buying, and I
Mhm.
walk in, you see signs everywhere. It's actually insane. I
Yeah.
think that might change too with the time, but right now, that show people want to buy cards. It's
Yeah.
really a fun, active, diverse place.
I am making plans for the July show to go there before the national to get down to that July show.
Yeah, I don't think I'm not sure if I'll be at that one. I wanted to get one more in, and I think this is the one. Um, yeah, I get it. I don't know if
So,
I'm excited about another show. We could talk about that later.
yeah. We're gonna save that one to the end. So just your thoughts just in general, like the state of the hobby on women's sports. We're talking a little bit, you were just talking about Sabrina and the WNBA and we have the NWSL and we have the Olympics coming this year. Just with the surge with the college, the women's college basketball right now, that just happened, which is great. It's going to be great for the WNBA too, and bring a lot more eyes and a lot more people in. How far, in your opinion, how far behind do you think the women's soccer is? If at all,
In regards to the cards?
it just the appeal for the sport.
Oh, appeal.
I think the appeal to
Women's
the sport
soccer,
brings that it brings the values of the cards up too, right? I mean, that's
not necessarily, in my opinion. I don't think that with more viewership, I don't think it necessarily translates to cards. I think it puts more people in the ring for sure, whether or not they buy a sports card or an NFT or a jersey or a ball or anything, any type of memorabilia in that regard. I'd say we have better chances for sure. You know, I always think it would be really cool to have professional soccer players who collect soccer cards, and we saw that now on the men's side. I think it's only a matter of time before um, women's soccer players start buying their cards or their friends' cards, and maybe even showing them off. It might be unrealistic, but I think it's more likely. Like if men's players are doing it, like I said, it's only a matter of time before women buy cards, I would say. And I think that would be something interesting for the market. Um, but I'd say that it's growing. There, you asked earlier, are there a lot of collectors compared to investors? And I would say the women's soccer card base is very collector heavy, which makes that space unique. Um, we saw this this past spring with spring and summer, I would say, with Don Russ. Some of those cards were like really expensive and way more expensive than the men's side for the same product, and then we saw it dip. So, and I think that was collectors and investors colliding for the spike, and I would say the more rapid percent increase or growth of that, or just roll out and then stay stable for a longer time even. So that's what happens when both get involved. And I think there's some people with women's cards, but I think a lot of the flipping of it has gone quieter.
Yeah. And I think the value has come down too a little bit. I'm a IPC Trinity Rodman, and I have just
Nice.
Everything of her that I could find, the even all the way to the most scarce cards, that I've figured out how to acquire, over the last couple of years. And now I started with, Sophia Smith, doing the same thing with her, just trying to, just thinking that, and these are cards that I'm just buying that, I'm not flipping right now, but right. And what I find is more of a collector base with those cards than a flipper base with those cards. But then when you go to like when Parkside, who makes the women's soccer stuff, when they release anything, it's sold out like immediately. Almost you're trying, you have to be on top of it to get it. And I think it was just a few days ago was the same thing I saw on Panini's website with the WNBA when they were dropping the draft night I don't know if you saw that, the draft night cards for the women, the WNBA, and I mean, most of those. So they said, oh, they're going to be running for 10 days or something. Most of those are all sold out, almost already. I think the only thing left are the base cards out there to get. So it's interesting that these cards are selling, so fast that
Mm.
I would have to think at some point, like I know on like the Caitlin Clark cards, it's a flip. There's the flip mentality that I'm investing. I want to invest and buy that card and hold that card or flip. But I just don't know about how many other players in there are going to get to that level and what it's
Yeah.
going to take to get them to that level.
Right. And, I was like, I wonder if there's going to be a ripple. Like I was after, Clark's Bowman 1 of 1 Superfractor PSA 10 that went for 60 something K. Right. Um, I thought after that happened, I think it was over 60K. Right.
Yeah, it's
Um,
like 73, something like that. Yeah.
oh, 73. There you go. Right. So I thought there was going to be, it's like, okay, and this is no knock on Clark, but I said this to a couple people. I said, if I started a team, I would prefer to have Ionescu over Clark, and Clark's amazing, right? She's an amazing offensive player. She's a good athlete. Everything's there, right? But I want Ionescu, so I was like, hey, that sold for that. I started thinking, I was like, I tried to make we have a nice Ionescu. We were trying to like move it. It's like, hey, if that's that, look what I got. Um, but all the base stuff, like the base Ionescu stuff, it dipped, and then I think when all that happened, I think it went back to where it was, just like say like a base Prism Ionescu rookie gem, right? I don't know. I feel like those sales are still like strong considering the population and
Mhm.
um,
Yeah, there was a time I pulled because I pulled the WNBA cards. I would have in my cases at shows, I would have, 6, 8, 10 of those cards. And there was a time I just pulled them because the values were so down. People really weren't looking at them. They were taking space in the case that nobody was buying, right? But now recently with, this whole with the NCAA tournament, the women's and Caitlin Clark and all that, I
yeah,
threw a couple INSQ cards in and they were selling.
yeah,
They're starting to sell
yeah.
again. So again, it's just really the, people getting excited and trying to,
Hopefully,
I guess it'd be prospecting, right? I mean, when
yeah,
you really
keep
think
building the
about it.
momentum in the WNBA. I think that's a kind of a bigger thing. I mean, I follow a lot of women's soccer feeds, and there's still a lot of negativity and kind of hate, I would say, from men or like people just attacking other people in regards to like pay grade and equal pay and I read some of this stuff and I'm like, why are we trying to tear each other's walls down? I know there's like both sides, and I feel like I've done quite well to see it from both sides, but I don't know. I know that the WNBA is going to grow, and if it for some reason fails, and then there's another thing that happens, it's going to grow eventually. I really believe that, and we've seen it happen quite a bit here with footy, and it's happening across the board in a lot of different sports. So I see the WNBA growing. I see their cards growing, and people becoming more excited about it. We were talking about numbers earlier, weren't we? Yeah. So I think with more viewership and participation from a wide range of people, there's more in the ring.
Mhm.
2026 though, like how do we feel? It's like we're getting close to halfway through 2024. It's
Yeah.
2026 is like when I got in 2019, I'm like at least 2026 with this project. But I already know that we're going to be in well beyond that. We're going to be in it for as long as we can, right? We're in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I don't know. How do you feel?
Um, I think my thought on it, I think the WNBA is well on their way. I really do. I
Yeah.
think they've really done a great job of putting a league together,
Yeah.
and drawing the attention of so many people and bringing in so many great players to play. Um, and then when I look at soccer, right, I look at it's such a worldwide, more of a worldwide sport, right? So when you look and when we see these cards, these all the cards you were just talking about, they were all World Cup cards, right? And we look at how many of our U.S. players are there, and then you look at all these other players from all over the world, that there's so many other, you know, so many other leagues, and in other countries they really look at that. I mean, that soccer is much more important, or they call it football there, right? But it's
Yeah.
much more important than I think what ours is right now. And I think if we could get to a point where we could get back to winning World Cups, right, I think that would bring more attention and more eyes to
Yeah.
what's going on.
Well, I don't want to be the Debbie Downer too much about the U.S. women's national team, but I think we're going to struggle in the next World Cup as well.
Yeah.
Without going too deep into it. What's interesting, though, going back to the cards, is we've noticed a bigger trend with selling women's cards internationally. That is happening more.
Selling international players internationally, not
Yep.
U.S. players.
Oh, those two,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
more so to the country of the player.
Yeah.
And I'm really encouraged by that. I think that's part of the reason why we do what we do. You know, it's like connecting with the game and
Yeah.
meeting people, and I don't know, it's growing. Football's a beautiful game. You know, this is our way to kind of be in it and grow with it.
Yeah. So speaking of reaching people and bringing people together, you've planned quite an exciting event this year in Cleveland during the National. Why don't you break that down and tell everybody what that is?
Sure, gladly. The SoCo Expo. So we are running an all soccer event from July 25th to the 27th, from 6 p.m. to midnight, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, in Cleveland. We're really excited because we intend to and are actively recruiting some of the most amazing sponsors in the world to set up at our events, and also trying to make connections with as many people as we can to bring collectors, investors, teachers, any hybrids of that, and people that want to be around the game with cards, and trying to make connections with people who we talk to on Instagram and actually get together and be with them face to face and celebrate the beautiful game and buy, sell, trade cards and eat food and be merry. You know, we haven't had that in the soccer space ever. So it brings me great joy. That's harsh. We have had it, but it hasn't been. It would be nice to have it for a longer period of time and over a few days. I'm going to say I don't think that has happened. I know that people have tried to make it happen, and their motivation for us to even get started. Right, we had those conversations before we decided to kind of jump in, and we knew, you know, it's going to be what our challenges were, but we're so excited to be able to present this to the space. And again, it's really just to connect people and to love the game and to create this show, if you will, where we can gather around the game and do the things that we like to do in the space. And really just almost like create maybe even something new with how people look at the space. You know, like I'm a teacher, so it's like I want to have education there. So it sounds cheesy, but I think that this type of a platform, we have an opportunity to help people learn. And I think that when people have an opportunity to learn, it makes them feel good. And in this case, it would make them feel better about being in the space, or maybe learning more about women's soccer cards, or hearing Cyrus's story, or, you know, making connections with Scott and Adam and our amazing team of people that are putting this event together. And, you know, we have sponsors who are going to be part of this who have never met. So it's like, how do we create this network around soccer cards and enhance soccer cards and cards in general, ultimately, and then also to celebrate the game.
Mm-hmm. So is this going to be set up like a card show, like a trade night, like a classroom? I mean, what
Hybrid.
can we expect?
I think we should expect, you know, our sponsors will be set up. um, showcases. We have it's a pretty nice sized venue.
Yeah.
We'll have 140 tables, and we're really excited about the title sponsors that we have, and we have a stage, and we intend to do breaks and giveaways, and a lot of giveaways. I'd say like one thing that our show has done well to do, and it's our first show. I don't know what's going to happen when we do this again,
Yeah.
but everybody can attend for free. So, and that was part of we wanted to be able to kind of to show people what we're creating. We wanted to get as many people that were interested in soccer cards or learning about soccer cards to attend. And I think with the education piece, if people became a little bit closer to some of the dealers and sponsors and soccer cards in general and just had information, not trying to sway anybody in a direction, but provide facts and information about certain aspects of the space, or create a panel of some of the original people that were around in 2014 when soccer cards first started to be breaking, right? I don't know. I think there's just so much opportunity to connect and share. It's I see something really powerful, and we'll see. But
Who are the people with you putting this together?
we have Scott WCO Cards, and then we have Adam Cleveland Soccer Cards, and and myself. We really it was a slow start, but once we got moving and connected, it's really kind of snowballed and grown and organically, which is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got me all excited, Ken. Thank you. I feel better already.
Yeah. Well, it's close, right? It's only a few months away. I mean,
Yeah, less
that's
than 3.
yeah, yeah,
There's a lot of stuff obviously that we need to do better, but our intention is to get this off the ground and to welcome as many people as we can. And capacity I think is like around 500. We put 500 people in that place. Like I'm like so pumped.
yeah.
I
And
don't want to
that
turn anything away, but we'll just get a bigger
that
place this time.
that's going to be easy to do, and that in that place, in that close to the. I mean, if the national brings people from all over the world, and like I've been talking about on the podcast for months now is
Thank you.
my and I was talking about going to Dallas before the national, and that's
Cleveland.
because I do
Oh,
mainly
Dallas
football.
before. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah, because I'm mainly I do mainly football at the shows, and I plan on selling out my football before I get to the national. Because when I get to the national, I want to be doing my women's soccer in the WNBA. Because last year when I was doing that, we had this conversation last year. It was unbelievable. Of all the stuff I had, that's what people were coming for. That's what they wanted. But I come home and I go to a lot of the local shows, and I don't even put that stuff in my case because people, at these more local shows, they're not interested in those cards. So going back out there, I'm very excited, maybe almost as excited as you are for your expo, but I'm excited to
Yeah.
go out and just do all the women's sports because I enjoyed meeting all the people that came for that and talked, and we had
Mm.
conversations so
I'm really excited that more people are coming to Cleveland. We've talked to several people who have noted that they weren't going to come to Cleveland. They weren't going to go to the national. But now that these people are coming for our event, they are also going to the national. I'm proud to be able to say that to the national. I'm sure there's going to come a point in time when we chat and talk and maybe even collaborate. But I want to be able to present data to actually
yeah,
like show that, so and get feedback from as many people as possible, because I think that could be a key thing in helping to our event to grow, not just to piggyback off of a national. That wasn't our intent at all. Our intent was to bring soccer card people together.
mm,
So I think with that in mind, if we can find ways to enhance each other, I think that it'll present opportunities not just to look at this as a once a year event, but to uh, find maybe do twice a year, and by 2026 maybe do 4, but really establish connections with as many people who appreciate our shows and what we were able to provide.
Mm.
and grow with it, you know. And that's why I think, when we go to a show, or what does this show look like in that show, and I think there's so much to still be explored. I think we have a tremendous opportunity to kind of create and enhance sports cards in general with our event. But
Yeah.
that's I think that's going to take a lot of time and
We're
work.
just starting with soccer right now.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. Right.
Yeah. So we wanted soccer people to, because when we do this with football, and you get people from different from walks of life coming together, but for one common thing. In soccer and football, more than any other game, I feel like the positivity and the synergy around the game is just incredible.
Mm-hmm. And I mean,
Globally,
we see that here, but globally, it's
globally,
incredible.
yeah, and I struggle to say that we see it here. I think and it's no knock on anybody or anything that we're doing, but in from a global perspective,
Yeah,
it's big.
yeah,
It's so cool.
yeah. And I even think like the space, like on eBay and any of these online, auction sites that are worldwide. You'll see like there's so much, the soccer cards, so many more soccer cards selling versus, when we just get here, just in the US alone. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
there's tons of
Yes.
fans,
And that's it. That's it. That's exactly it. So I'm talking about 500 people, but how many people who are going to just say Cleveland in the summer? I bet you a lot of those people that enter the door, say if there's 20,000 people at the National, let's just say 20. I think that's light, but I think let's just say there's 20,000 people at the National. How many of those people you think own a soccer card?
I would probably say,
8%, 5,
yeah, maybe I would say maybe 5 to 8%. Yeah.
5%. That's 1,000 people. So could you like, and then they just slide over like that. Those are big numbers.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
It's not saying
I
that they
guarantee.
have a lot of cards per se. We just said one card, right? So I think of that, there's a lot of people. You know, I don't know that
Yeah.
are there. I hope we pack it out.
Hey, we did a trade night last year in a hotel, a very small hotel ballroom that started at 6 o'clock and it ended at 6 o'clock the next morning. And there was people packed in that room all night long. Out in the
I don't even remember that.
hallways, down the hallways, in lobbies, anywhere they could set up and put some cards down. It was incredible. So you put an event together like this, I'm telling you, you put it together, they will come. I
I hope
guarantee
you're
you're going
right.
to be turning people away at the door.
I'm thinking that I I, I want to I want to have like playing going on. I want to set up like whatever it's like tournament. I don't we do so much like exercise, education. You know, we're getting a little crazy here, but
Yeah.
we could do this concurrent with events. We could be like, oh, SoCo Expo for the semifinal and I don't know how it works out, but like around the game and be able to, watch games together and also do the event, and sky's the limit with
Yeah.
opportunity, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a learning thing, right? It's all learning
Oh, yeah.
curve. You're gonna start the first one, you're gonna figure out everything that went well and everything that didn't go well, and you just keep building upon that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you get the conversation going, right? And you get people excited.
Yeah. I think every show that I usually attend, there's the soccer people, wherever they are, they kind of come together and round table it, and we're a tiny group, but we're mighty, and we have a
And
lot of strength.
and you have great jerseys.
Team songs and chants.
Uh,
Hmm.
well,
A lot of people
looking
know
for
the game. I feel like there's a lot of people that are really connected. Like the soccer card people are just, I don't know. I see a lot of them like that are have a strong background. I would say it like that. Some of it is like really cool.
I have a lot of friends who were doing very well with soccer when until the market kind of turned, and literally just waiting for this market to come back, because that's the space they want to be in. That's what they
Nice.
get most excited for.
Really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Mhm. And that's awesome that to offer the platform to be able to talk about our event. And by no means, I just wanted to say thank you for that part. Um, it means a lot.
Oh, absolutely. I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you coming on, chatting with me.
Mhm.
It's always fun to chop up, talking sports. That's what we're here for, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
if anybody wants to reach out to you, tell them where they can find you. If they need to get more information on the SoCo Expo, where can they find it?
Yeah, no. So I'm Anthony at SACC Cards. You can feel free to reach out in our DMs on Instagram anytime. I'm pretty active on there and responsive. In regards to our event, the SoCo Expo, you can also find that on Instagram, I believe Twitter, a couple other platforms as well. But if you stick to the IG, I think that's what's best for us right now. Simplicity. We recently have just kind of opened up. We have a couple other opportunities for sponsors to jump on, and we have if they wanted opportunities to maybe set up. There are a little bit of those opportunities left, but please show up and come out to Cleveland, July 25th to the 27th, to hang out with us at the SoCo Expo. Thursday, Friday, Saturday in Cleveland, 6 p.m. to 12 a.m.
Yeah.
That would be really cool if you can.
And it's great you put it in the evening, so people don't have to like make a decision, right?
Yeah, come and go. It's like
Yeah.
people set up. You can buy cards. We're gonna have tables where people can just show up and trade. Like it's not one of those
Yeah.
things like, hey, you can't trade here. No, trade, trade.
Yeah.
Breaks going on, giveaways. Like every sponsor has to donate $100 card. We did the math. I think we're gonna be running giveaways like every half hour, every hour. Worst
Nice.
case,
Yeah.
just whoever comes in, sign up, you get a ticket, whatever it is. We're gonna a lot of opportunities. I think it's gonna be really cool. Good
Oh,
energy.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, Ken, this is awesome. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
You look really well, and it's again as like the national. It was good to chop it up with you and talk
Yeah.
shop and just
Yeah.
hang out.
Excellent. All right. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. And if you like what you hear, please definitely subscribe. And most importantly, tell a friend and spread the word. Until next time, take care of yourselves and everyone around you. Thanks, Anthony.
Thank you too, Ken.